Alrighty, welcome back everybody to the Player Zone YouTube channel, and welcome back here to another NBA review coming from the Game 4 in the Eastern Conference there between the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And after extraordinary effort from the New York Knicks there in Game 3, coming to Game 4, we expected Cleveland to respond. We expected a strong response from the likes of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland and the like, and also another bouncing Madison Square Garden crowd. So the Knicks we knew would come out strong as well, and it was all shaping up to be one of the more exciting games there on Sunday afternoon and Monday morning here in Australia. Jumping straight into this game, the big news was Quentin Grimes from the Knicks was out with a shoulder injury that propelled Josh Hart into the starting lineup, and we'll get into it later, but boy did he have a great game today. His impact was just extraordinary. Looking to the first quarter, it was Jalen Brunson who just picked up where he left off in Game 3 there. He got to his spots, got deep in the paint at times, hitting these mid-range jumpers, isolation basketball to his best there, and he looked incredible early on. 11 points in that first quarter and was a shining light there for the Knicks early on in the game. He shot an impressive 58% from the field and really stood out, scoring at really timely points in time across the quarter. It was early on a few points there, and then late in the quarter to hold off the Cavs and keep a margin at a reasonable length there for the Knicks. It's also exciting to say, I guess, for Knicks fans and the neutral to see RJ Barrett just open proceedings up and being aggressive. We talked about it after Game 2 that he'd struggled, he'd been very passive and inefficient. Game 3 was an improvement. He started hitting shots, being more aggressive, converting those shots there as well. And in Game 4, he was even better. He was even more efficient. He was aggressive. He was getting to his spots, getting inside, getting downhill. And it was really, really exciting to watch him at full steam there, going downhill and getting to the paint. He continued that form from Game 3. He was ultra aggressive and put up 6 first quarter points. And like Brunson, at really, really important times where the Knicks needed a basket, he'd find a way to burrow his way in there to the paint, get deep, and go into that left hand that he's so strong on, get inside and lay the ball in. Another Knick player was Mitchell Robinson, who was impressive in this first quarter. The tempo was sort of dictated by Brunson at times, but when the Knicks sort of fell away a bit, it was Mitchell Robinson's hustle and repeated efforts that got the crowd up and getting behind the team. And it was his efforts to alter shots, his efforts to chase out an offensive rebound at times was just incredible, and sort of showed up the bigs for Cleveland, maybe not necessarily in the first quarter, but throughout the game, his effort and hustle plays was just through the roof, and you see the fans are really getting behind him because he just kept supplying effort for the Knicks, giving them second chance opportunities to get the ball in the basket. We've seen the first few games there that the ability to score the ball from both teams has been very limited, so the likes of Mitchell Robinson, his ability to chase balls down, create a second chance opportunity was so important, and it was a massive impact there in the first quarter there. He had a massive putback bucket at an important time there, midway through the first, and as I said, the crowd really got behind him and what he was doing out there on the court, which was, I guess, build even more momentum and allow that atmosphere to keep growing and get behind the Knicks there. Look at the Cavs side of things. It was Donovan Mitchell who was, had an impact on the game in the first quarter there. It wasn't a large impact, but similar to Brunson, when the Knicks needed a basket, they'd go to Donovan and he'd find a way to make the basket happen. 5 first quarter points, despite some awesome defense from Josh Hart. I talked about it in the intro there, but his introduction to the starting 5 was a big change. And although it was from an injury, it was one of the sort of greater changes that's been made in this series. And Donovan Mitchell really struggled. It looked like that Game 1 where Josh Hart's impact was going to be massive in this game, and Mitchell had nothing easy there early, even to the extent of missing a shot from the free throw line. So the pressure on Mitchell was incredible, just through the likes of Josh Hart's defense, and later in the second quarter, others were involved as well. I guess Evan Mobley was important for the Cavs in the first quarter. Similar to RJ Barrett, been quite passive in the first few games, but sort of hit his straps in the last 2 games. 8 first quarter points was important for the Cavs. Important that some of the big men for the team can get more involved. I've talked about the importance of those big 2, Allen there and Mobley. And Mobley sort of asserted his dominance early on, getting deep inside of the paint and getting the ball to a spot where almost impossible for him to miss. So it was good for him to keep his foot in the throttle early on and get those 8 points there. And him and Mitchell sort of were huge in not allowing the lead to blow out to a massive margin because the Knicks really got rolling early on, and it was the Cavaliers' ability to score the ball, which they didn't do in the first game, that kept them sort of at an arm's reach to the Knicks there. And I'll just talk about the ability and the assisting of Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland was huge early on and getting Mobley involved. There were some great finds for Mitchell late on in the first to get Mobley an almost open look under the basket with a rotating defense. So it was good they got him involved early on, and hopefully it would carry on for the Knicks throughout the game. Strugglers early on was Darius Garland and also Julius Randle, both really, really unfortunate in some of their efforts, but both shot 1 for 5 there in the first quarter and just looked like they're, especially in the case of Julius Randle, that his confidence just disappeared from there on in. Really went into his shell there, and his body language just really fell off. Whilst the team was succeeding, he was really struggling, and it became a big key point as the game continued and got deeper. I've got here again Josh Hart's impact. His defense of Mitchell was so impressive, but it was 9 points of his own in the first quarter that was important for the Knicks. So you had Brunson and Barrett scoring at important times, and Hart sort of throughout the mid part of the and the second half there of the first quarter that carried some of the offense for the Knicks, getting downhill, getting to the paint, hitting a timely 3 there as well, and putting up 9 important points in that first quarter was massive for the Knicks, and just kept that scoreboard ticking over. And in a series where the defense has dominated, the ability to just keep the scoreboard ticking over for each team is massive. And if it comes for a guy who's a primary defender like Hart, the Knicks were winning there in that first quarter. I got written down here, the offense compared to the first quarter in the game 3, there was much improved. Both teams shot 50% or above, and I guess the quality and standard of offensive play was starting to match the high quality defense being put out from both teams. In the end of the first quarter, the Knicks were up 30-23, and just picking up where they left off in game 3 there with their momentum they were carrying through. But I guess for the Cavs, they weren't totally out of the game yet, which was a big win for them. It was early in the second quarter that Mitchell was really struggling. He was being trapped by the likes of McBride and Quickly, who were a great duo there off the bench early on in the second. Not necessarily on the offensive end, but their ability to just deny Mitchell the basketball was really, really incredible. And like Robinson in the first quarter, their hustle players got the crowd right in behind the team and built a momentum early on through defensive plays. And they got the continual offensive rebounds from Isaiah Hartenstein, created a 3-point field goal for Obi Toppin in the early minutes, and the roof almost lifted off Madison Square Garden because they were just getting behind their big men, whether it was Hartenstein or Robinson, just chasing down rebounds, creating second chance points. And early on, that was really the difference. The hustle play for the Knicks just stood out and was a massive differential early on, and it really seemed that the Cavs weren't up to it. They weren't ready to chase down loose balls or create second chance opportunities like the Knicks, I guess, had been known for all year, but in this series, it's really stood out. Continuing on, I guess in the second quarter, it was Isaac Okoro who was a surprise package for the Cavs. He put in 7 points, including a 3, shot 60% from the field, and once again, like the first quarter, he kept the game interesting because the Cavs were struggling to get the ball in the basket. The defense for the Knicks was relentless. It was ruthless. And it was the only other field goals were made by Donovan Mitchell, who had 4 points in the quarter, and also Sadie Osman, who had 6 points of his own. But I guess for the Cavs, most of the points came from the line. The Knicks playing some incredible defense. I talked about McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, Emmanuel Quickly. They're all really, really getting up into the grills of the Cavaliers' offensive players, the offensive guards there, and denying them real scoring opportunities. So 9 of the 22 points in that quarter for the Cavs came from the line, and it was denial of clear shooting opportunities that allowed the Knicks to continue to extend their lead. And this lead did extend to 15 points midway through the second quarter, and it was after a massive Jalen Brunson 3 following another offensive rebound. You wouldn't guess, from Obi Toppin, who chased down a loose ball, fed it out to Jalen Brunson, and he hit a massive 3. And at that point in time, you thought this game could only really go one way and the Knicks would continue to blow it out. But it was an impressive effort for the Cavs to stay in the game and keep hitting timely shots. Looking around the Knicks, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and Jalen Brunson just kept scoring the basketball. They'd always take it in turns with 2-minute spells in which they'd go off and do their thing. Robinson obviously getting deep inside the paint. Brunson with his isolation, pick and roll play, really, really impressive. And then RJ Barrett just getting deep into the paint, getting layups and getting his confidence hit the 3 ball from outside. And it's got the amount of impact the bigs made in the second quarter was massive. Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein were the heart and soul of the Knicks in the first half, but especially in that second quarter, their second chance points opportunities they created were just it just fueled the team. And as I said, it was the heart and soul of the Knicks in this game today. The Knicks just edged the quarter 24-22. The Cavs had a better sort of second half of the quarter there, but both teams having strong runs throughout the quarter. And the Knicks went up halftime, up 9, leading 54-45. Coming into the third quarter, things did change. Darius Garland, as I said, really struggled in the first half with the one field goal and the 3 fouls early on in the second quarter that came out after halftime, ultra aggressive. He dribbled the ball, took on Jalen Brunson, got to the paint, found a mid-range shot and started hitting the 3-ball after that. And it was not only this, but the ability to dish out dimes to Jarrett Allen, who was almost invisible in the first half, but he got himself going there in the early stages of the second half there in the third quarter. And it was all because of Darius Garland. He ran the offense really for the Cavaliers as Donovan Mitchell struggled. So it was good to see him take that load on and take the load off Donovan Mitchell, but he really needed some help. Garland poured in 11 points of his own and 5 assists in the third quarter. So it was an incredible comeback considering how poorly he shot the ball in game 3 and then how poorly he started game 4 here. I talked about Jarrett Allen being the beneficiary. He was setting the pick, rolling into the paint, and the rotation from the Knicks just wasn't quite there, and their defense seemed slow and sluggish coming out of halftime, and Allen was able to put in 8 points of his own in the third quarter, most of them coming there in the first half of the third quarter, and got his momentum and confidence up after a really quiet first half. The run for the Cavs was really, really impressive early on in the third, and that 15-point lead that was there in the second quarter disappeared, and they're up at the back end there of the third quarter, and it was a bit of an arm wrestle as the Knicks sort of woke up a bit sluggish coming out of halftime there. I've got in here, the run was not only caused by Garland's play, but some of the poor defense from the Knicks stars. So Jalen Brunson, despite having a really good first half, came out in the second half and struggled defensively. Looked like a witch's cone at times where Garland was just dribbling past him and having a field day, blow-bys and getting deep into the paint and stepping back on Brunson. And Julius Randle was also really poor, and you can see the body language of him struggling in the offensive end was affecting him defensively, as his normal effort and intensity that we normally see from him just wasn't there in this game. And they were the two catalysts, I guess, Garland's play and the poor defense for the Knicks that allowed the Cavs to lead after trailing by 15 points in the second. The Cavs were able to take 23 field goals compared to the Knicks 15, and it was just due to the Cavaliers lifting their defensive intensity and the Knicks just slowing their game down. The offense came to a halt. They turned the ball over a fair bit more, and the Cavaliers' defense got on top, and it allowed the Cavs to just get a stranglehold of the game where, realistically, in the second quarter, I didn't see that one happening. But it's good to see. It was good for the neutral to see a competitive, close game, and I got here, despite the strong run of the Cavs, it was Donovan Mitchell who was almost invisible again. Did not hit a field goal in the quarter, and it was due to the quality defense by Josh Hart. I talked about the likes of Quickly and Grimes earlier, but it was Josh Hart in the third quarter that really stood up for the Knicks and played some great defense, and it wasn't for him. And then on the offensive end, Mitchell Robinson, who had 2 offensive rebounds and 2 putback buckets, that kept the Knicks reasonably close. The Cavs could have extended that lead to 6 or 8 points, but despite only being down by 3 or 4, it was the late timely buckets from Jalen Brunson with a huge late 3 that allowed the Knicks to still lead going into a three-quarter time there. And his ability to work with Josh Hart to create space was quite remarkable, and it just showed the impact Josh Hart not only had on one end of the floor, but at the other end there, and facilitated Jalen Brunson, I guess, finding that shot later on in the quarter and allowing the Knicks to lead 73-71, despite losing the quarter 26-19. I guess going to the last, it was all to play for, and the Knicks defense lifted again. It was back to that second and first quarter type defense, getting into the grill of the Knicks, the Cleveland players there, and forcing missed shots at times. And the bold change was made by Coach Thibodeau to bench All-Star Julius Randle, despite his impact in previous games and despite his reputation. He had a really, really poor game, only hitting 1 field goal, and he did not see the court at all in the fourth quarter, and that was a big change and a bold change by Coach Thibodeau, and I guess it was a positive change because his replacement, Obi Toppin, was a live wire in the fourth quarter, creating second chance points, hitting a big three, and supplying some good defense and some really strong minutes there in the clutch. In addition to this, it was Isaiah Hartenstein, as well as Mitchell Robinson, the big guys again, just showing out. Both of them probably playing the game of their careers to this point in time. Hartenstein and Toppin combined for 7 rebounds in the clutch and created heaps of second chance opportunities. The Cavs' offensive punch really wasn't there in the last quarter. The defense was on top, and without Mitchell having any sort of impact at all, it was up to Garland and LeVert to really stand up and make an impact there. I've got here again the energy created by Hartenstein to force pressure on Allen, to force to protect the paint well, and force Donovan Mitchell and Garland to defer to other players was massive as well. It just kept the Knicks on top when the game did get close down there in the clutch, and allowed the Knicks to sort of keep that 8-point lead throughout the final quarter there. Jalen Brunson's huge three after winning a one-on-one isolation play against Darius Garland allowed the lead to extend to 7 points with 7 minutes to go, and the Knicks sort of kept a hold of that lead throughout. Hart and Obi Toppin continued to push the pace, getting downhill after turnovers and missed shots, and they stretched the lead to 9 points with 5 minutes to go. Hart finishing the final quarter with 8 points there, just showing again his impact on both ends of the floor, and similar to game one was sort of the live wire and the difference maker in this game here. It was great for the Knicks fans to see that the replacement guard did as well, if not better than Grimes had done in previous games, and it was clear that Hart's impact was massive, as Mitchell was had little to no impact at all in the second half, and Hart's impact was massive on his own there. Allen had 4 points of his own in a row there late on, and in addition to Garland's back-to-back threes in the last minute, the Cavs sort of kept the game alive but never really cut that margin below 6 points, and Josh Hart getting a massive offensive rebound and kicking it out to Jalen Brunson, hit a massive three, allowed the Knicks to extend that lead to 10 with 1:40 to go. And I just got noted down here, that was one of 17 offensive rebounds. A massive stat for the Knicks, something they're known for, but something that's been massive in this playoff series. And in this game here, the ability to get second chance points basically won them the game. And it was the Knicks who ran out 102-93 winners behind their 29-22 point final quarter. When I look at the 3 key takeaways from this game, I have to look at the matchup first between Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, and it was clear that it was more of a team win today, that the Knicks defense locked up on Donovan Mitchell, ending with 11 points, 1 field goal in the second half, 5 assists and 4 rebounds, and his impact was little to none at all. And as a superstar and the leader of this Cavaliers team with some serious playoff experience, it was a poor performance from Donovan Mitchell and sort of let his team down when they needed him in a hostile environment and in the clutch to try and hit some buckets. And I think his inability to score the bars will let them down today, because the Knicks, they were great on the defensive end, but maybe his ability to score 9 or 10 more points might have changed this game and might have won it for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the end. So his efforts were quite disappointing, and he truly did lose the battle today to Jalen Brunson. His 29 points, 6 assists and 6 rebounds is just remarkable throughout the whole series. I guess game 2 was the blip, but he's continued to put up great numbers. He continues to control the game, dictate the pace of the game, and when the Knicks need a basket, he will get to his spot and hit his mid-range jumper or a step-back three. He's super for the Knicks at the moment, and they couldn't have asked for a better guard after last season's free agency. But I guess a big shout out to the likes of McBride, Hart and Quickly, who did a great job on Mitchell and shut him down and allow him any clear space for him to shoot the basketball or time to set himself to get deep into the paint there. Looking at the second takeaway, it was RJ Barrett, who continues to grow and continues to improve. I know I was sitting here after game 2 and saying that LeVert outplayed Barrett, and Barrett needed to lift to match LeVert's output, but since that point in time, game 3 and 4, he has been remarkable. He had 26 points tonight, 50% shooting, and supplied the offensive punch the Knicks needed without Julius Randle having any real impact. Randle's only 1 field goal meant that the Knicks needed a sort of second option, a second scoring option, and that was given to them tonight by RJ Barrett. especially early on, continuing that momentum from Game 3 and being aggressive and getting to the paint was such a big deal for the Knicks. And going forward, if he's able to put up to 18 to 20 points every game, the Knicks will be in a really healthy place, because Julius Randle's shot will come to him. And if you have 3 scorers there who can all pour in 20 points of their own, the Knicks will be in a really good position with their incredible defense. And RJ Barrett's length was important on the defensive end. He supplied some resistance down there as well. So he's going from strength to strength. And if he keeps improving like this, the Knicks will have a valuable commodity there going deep in this series and deep into the playoffs. And finally, Josh Hart was the difference maker. I said before, his defense and Donovan Mitchell, remarkable. Only allowing him 1 field goal to be made in the second half. And then with 19 points of his own, 2 steals, 7 rebounds and 2 assists. He was just everywhere. Came in for the injured Grimes and instantly made an effort. Was aggressive. He got down here. He got into the paint. He was up into Donovan Mitchell's grill there, defending him almost on the halfway line, and was just he felt like he was up for the moment. He felt the crowd's energy. He absorbed that and took it on, and just was a leader for the Knicks out on the floor. And there's been reports that came out that the Knicks believe that they're a good team going into the trade deadline, but after the trade deadline and after acquiring Josh Hart, they've gone from strength to strength, and you can see that. He's a leader out there in the court. He plays some tough minutes. He takes the best offensive guard, and he can pour in. If he keeps pouring in points like he did today and like he did in Game 1, the Knicks will be laughing. 19 points is a serious effort from someone who's locked down one of the better point guards in playoff history. So his game was massive, and like Barrett, he just keeps going strength to strength, and the Knicks, if they want to go deep, are going to need him to keep playing this type of basketball. Just looking at the game, again, this series keeps delivering us with classic matchups. Another great atmosphere, another great crowd to watch another great New York Knicks Cleveland Cavaliers game. And going to Game 5, I expect the Cavaliers to respond. Didn't quite get the response I was expecting, or the media was expecting coming into Game 4, but a must-win Game 5 there in Cleveland. I expect them to win that, and I expect New York to come back with a Game 6 and back in the Garden, and we'll see how we go from there. But thank you all guys for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with some mates, and I'll see you guys soon for another NBA Review Zone.